G'day folks, Mike and Andrew here. We're ready for our next instalment of repairing Deathproof. February's fast approaching us, and we've got a lot more work to do. We're going to continue working on the arse end of the car, hopefully get the fuel tank back together without exploding it or ourselves. So stay tuned, let's do it.
See what happens?
Yeah. So as we work on the back end, we're going to need a new bolt for this side here to keep the spring pack together. This bottom spring is actually a reversed leaf. We wanted to try it without any tension. We like it without tension, so we're actually going to chop it on both sides so we no longer have this trailing downwards. And we've got to replace these U-bolts. We've got to straighten up the tramp rod bracket here, and we've also got to deal with the pinched brake line, which you can probably see now. So we've got a bit of work to do on the arse. I think we'll get started with that. Oh yeah, in that sense. Alright, so we're just getting a bit of the spring pack lifted up, just using a bottle jack. It's a little bit sturdier. Also, this should be enough to at least remove the U-bolts. We can get access underneath now, so we'll rip them off. Slide this bad boy out. That's what's left of the bolt that's sheared through. There may be one on the top of the diff too. These are our old U-bolts, they're going to go obviously.
They've seen better days.
They certainly have. Okay. Alright, so upon further reflection I've sort of compared the new U-bolts and the old together. They're more or less the same length. New ones are a touch shorter, which as a result I think we can get away with not putting this spring back into the pack, because these U-bolts being shorter means that they will actually have to clamp a little bit higher because of the missing spring, and that'll work out fine anyway, so even better. Beauty.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we can knock them on the head real quick now.
Beautiful.
Got a replacement high tensile bolt going in. We also need to check, once this is actually tightened up, we're going to jack the diff up and have a look underneath in the middle, because this is a locating guide on the spring pad. We need to make sure that the head of the old bolt isn't still stuck in there, otherwise we'll never get it in.
Fair point.
How are we looking?
Wow, look, we're in a fair bit of trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
It's stuck in there, isn't it?
I don't even know what to fucking think about that.
No, that's alright. The head of that will go in there, that's fine. It's been split before, but
Yeah, okay.
no, that's alright. That'll go in.
Righto.
It's enough of a guide, it'll work. She'll be right.
You're happy, I'm happy.
I'm happy.
Right, so we just got to try and swing the diff forward somehow.
That should be easy.
Should be easy.
Should be easy.
You sure about that easy bit? Or?
Oh, it's not that bad.
It's not that easy.
Shut up. We're actually very close there. I might get a ratchet strap on the front just so we're not straining ourselves. And
a pole or something, jack arm.
Oh, look, I'll do it slowly with a ratchet strap, because what happens is the diff, while the diff is centrally located, the springs themselves still have an ability to walk in and out a bit. So we need to make sure not only that we line it up from front to rear, but also left to right. So we'll ratchet strap him forward, because we also got the drive shaft in, so we've sort of got a bit of force on that too.
True. Well, I mean, this is how we drove it on the trailer, wasn't it?
Well, there was enough to get it on the trailer, that's absolutely right. So
there we go, that sounded good.
that was a bit more promising. Alright, let's get him locked in. There we go. Alright, so I think while we're here, we might play around with getting this
Straight like that.
tramp rod back in. So we just got to straighten this part here. We might get a bit of heat on it, or we might even get a pair of Stilsons that might even bend it straight, who knows. As long as we get it straight enough, it'll be good enough. Then we can lock this bad boy in, and then that will basically be the entire right hand side, except for obviously our link here.
Brake line.
And brake line. So we're knocking on its head pretty quickly here, so alright, let's get this sorted.
Keep on ticking on.
Yep. You can see where the washer just sheared open. We're going to put a slightly bigger washer in next time, but I actually don't mind the fact that the washer can shear, because it does make a partial breakaway item for the tramp rod if we do have another major accident. But obviously under normal use it's not an issue. So overall I'm pretty happy with how the car fared considering the high speed impact. So with any luck, a pair of these will bend that straight. How's that?
Yeah, no, we're getting something. Yeah, 100%.
We've got to go more.
Yep. Keep going. You got a fair way to go. Like it's still bent. But...
Alright.
Oh no, there we go. If you can go.
How's that?
That's pretty good, bro. That is pretty good.
Alright, that'll do it.
Still got a bit of a kink, but all it is a tramp rod.
Yep.
All it's designed to do is to stop the spring doing the old S shape, and so it doesn't really.
That'll be enough. That's fine. You know, it was never put in with precision in the first place. It like Andrew said, it's just a piece of rubber that sits in there. It's all its job is to do. These actually, if anyone's interested, because we run a Daewoo Lanos rack, which is the same as an early Kimura rack, these are the original tie rod ends from the rack, and we just repurposed them to become tramp rods. So these obviously twisted and turned anyway. That was a feature of this little rubber bush. So not having this 100% straight is not really a big deal.
No.
There we are. That's basically in as far as it'll go. Bolting back together. We need to readjust.
Probably loosen.
Yeah.
We can pull the diff a bit straighter with that too, can't we? Really?
Oh no, well that's it. It's in, but the diff's at a different height now. It's at rest, so we're actually going to jack it up because we don't have shocks in it anymore.
Oh, this is
so the angle's actually changed dramatically because it's sitting much lower than what it normally does. So
that's a fair point.
we need to actually lift the spring up a bit before we bolt that back on. So crack these open with a 12mm. There we go. And we can start to undo these. So that goes this way to undo. And after adjusting it, fits in like so. About.
Do you want to straighten the shock mount while we're on this side, or?
Oh look, we'll probably wait till we get them back. So see what we're dealing with there. Murray has got them. I'd sent them off to him a week ago, so I should expect a phone call from Murray fairly soon. We'll find out what the damage is. Hopefully it's not too bloody bad. And yeah, that'll be in a different episode. We're obviously not going to do it in this one. We're going to finish everything else, I hope, in the back end, and move on to the front in the next video, I think. But look, at the end of the day, we're probably about, 5 or 6 weeks away, probably 6 weeks away from training day. We've still got a lot of work to do on this car. We've got a lot of work to do on Sleazy. We want to take Sleazy with us as well, and do a bit of testing at the Hampton park there. So, I don't know, gonna be very busy boys at She'll Be Right Garage. That's done. Now we'll get all of these locked in, and that is all. Nice and tight. You can see it's got a little bit of free play like any tie rod is meant to have, and that's perfectly fine. Moving on to the next bit.
Right hand side done.
Yep. Alright, so moving on to the other side, just going to put a bit of tension on the left hand spring. We've got to do the U-bolts on this side. We've got to remove that lower spring from the pack and retighten it. We've also got to deal with the tramp rods here as well. If we have a bit of a closer look, we've got a bit of a kink there. That's not a major deal. I'm happy to leave a kink, but this is kinked here, so we're just going to straighten this out. We're going to do exactly the same thing with the Stilsons, and then readjust this tie rod, tramp rod as well.
Centre.
These aren't too bent, so it's coming out. I think the other one might be a bit of a trick. What I might do, I'm going to undo this tramp rod, and then I might just cut the U-bolt off here because we're turfing it anyway. So a little bit less mucking around. I think it's just not worth fooling around otherwise.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yep, that will do. Pop that out of the way. Now I've got access with the grinder.
There you go. Beautiful.
Alright, we'll remove that bottom spring from the pack then. There's that.
That's looking pretty good.
Alright.
Beautiful.
Alright, so that's all the tramp rods, spring U-bolts and the spring pack bolts all sorted. Next step is going to be the what's link. We've actually got some damage to the chassis. Looks alright from this side, but check it out from the inner. So you can see we've got a bit of a kink there. Our trick is to actually grab this, maybe put a bit of heat and open it up by pulling it out this way. Once we get that located into the correct place and welded back in where we want, then we're going to deal with the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat up a bit of this area here on the C channel, and Andrew's going to use the Stilsons and actually pull that out a bit. He's going to go beyond a little bit further. Then we're going to put some heat along here, and I'm going to use this to pull that out straight. Once it's straight, we're going to then reheat that or knock it back in, get them lined up, so this will come back inboard. It'll line up again together, and then we're going to do some spot welds along there. The last weld from factory is along here. We're going to beef it up by putting it here as well. So away we go. Beautiful, that'll do for now. So whilst we didn't get it red hot, we got it hot enough for Andrew to pull that out, which is what we wanted. And if we have a look at me coming in here, I'm hoping that with the tyre lever I might be able to pull some of this out. I don't think I can do it cold, but we want to try to get this inner C channel back down to where it was. Actually,
all we've done is twist that.
Having a bit of a struggle there, but I'm getting a bit of a twist here, in fact, without heating it up so far. This may actually prove to be more fruitful. It's just a bit of trial and error really. So what we've decided to do is attempt using a G-clamp. We are going to heat up a little bit here with the map gas. I'll be doing that. Andrew's going to try to apply more force with the G-clamp. By leaving the C channel section cold, we're hoping that will be enough to stretch this out, because it will be the softer metal. So let's give it a crack. Now, my final move is to try to crimp the middle there. Keep it where it was.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Beautiful. Alright, we have achieved our goals there, folks. I'm going to undo this clamp now. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can clamp it this way. We may need a bit of heat, but we'll basically do it like so and join them both together again. And once they're joined together, we can do some welding. So what I need is heat directly on this one there to start with. Alright. That's it. Pretty good. We'll call that done. Righto folks, so there is like a little bit of movement left, like so.
Make sure we didn't burn.
So we're going to just have some mild pressure there when we do our first spot weld on the back. And then I will continue to do a seam weld all the way along there, and that'll be more than strong enough, stronger than it ever was before, in fact. Alright, well I think we'll carry on with that in the morning. What do you say, Andrew?
Sounds good to me, brother.
Alright, let's keep it done. We'll call it a day. Here we are, following day, let's get him sorted. That's closed up nicely. We'll run a weld there. And that's that chassis rail repair complete. Alright, so with the left hand side done, we're now moving on to the right hand side. If you have a look here, you can see the chassis on the outside, the C-channels belted in. Not really fussed about that, it's not affecting the way that the alignment or anything like that. What I do need to do is cut this old bracket off, so I'm going to cut that flush there, and if you have a look underneath you can see my fingers going through the hole there. So once this is cut off, we've got to belt it back in, weld it all up so we can weld the bottom part of the C-channel. And we're also going to take, I don't know what this is called, but plumbers use it and all the rest of it. It's quite sturdy, it looks bodgy, but it works. So we're just going to work out the measurements there roughly. So we know that the old one was cut across like that. So that's pretty straightforward. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. So we're talking a cut around about here, which is where we're going to cut it off. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but we're also cutting it along here so that the Watts link can go in, and we're doing a mark approximately there in the middle. We'll measure it up properly, but that basically gives us enough to work with. We're going to trim it all down. Once this chassis is repaired and once we've got this roughly ready to mock up in place, we're going to lift the back of the car up, we're going to weight it up so that we get the diff in the correct position. We're going to bolt up the left hand side of the Watts link, and then we're going to bolt it to the right hand side, prop it up against the chassis, and that's where we're going to weld it, so we know that it's sitting pretty much in the middle, because the springs actually keep it guided in the middle anyhow. This is just a little bit of extra stability that we don't normally get on a leaf spring car. So ordinarily you might line this up a little bit better, but we don't have to. We're using the natural guide of the leaf springs anyhow to keep it in place. So that's pretty straightforward. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's do it.
Alright, so I'm going to weld across there, fill it in. Once that's welded, I'll be able to knock the back end around and then do the seam weld across the inside like I did on the left hand side of the car, so pretty straightforward. Let's knock them on the head now. And I'm now going to seam weld all the way across. Well, that's good enough for the bush. And whilst we're on the driver's side, we may as well sort out this mud flat bracket as well. You can see it's got a bit of a head on the chassis. Done. Easy as that. She'll be right. There you go. Beautiful. Let's get it welded in.
Done.
Alright, so time to jack it up. We're going to make sure there's some chassis stands under the rear spring perches. We've actually lost a lot of weight in the car, so I'm not expecting the springs to compress a hell of a lot. So what we're going to do is, once these rear spring perches are on some stands, I'm going to move to the front and actually jack the front end up. So basically what we have to do is make sure that we get enough weight on the back end, because the chassis stands are near the front, but they're actually behind where the suspension is. I'm going to have to lift it in front of the suspension in order to actually get some more weight on the back end. So you know, without the doors and the fuel tank and all the rest of it, it does affect it. So we've got to do it a little bit better than that. All right, let's get him sorted. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. That's doing a lot.
Alright, so basically as we've got it now, the balance of the weight of the car is triangulated. We've got the two spring perches and we've got the jack right at the front forming a triangle with the weight. As a result, we've got more weight on the perches. Good to go. Yep. Alright, so we can line this up as soon as I... onto the other side. Alright, so now we can tackle this side. Once again, we're going to run the bolt from the rear to the front. I would rather risk damage to the thread than risk another pierced fuel tank in the event of an accident. We'll get this on loosely, and pretty much that's our alignment. There we go. So this is already dictated because the other side is welded in place, and that is all. In actual fact, I'm looking at this, and compared to where it was, I'm going to have to put a slightly deeper angle on that, because that's sitting a little bit low, truth be told, because that was harsh up against there. So I need to take about 5mm off the edge, which is fine. I'm going to do that right now.
Diagonal cut.
Yeah, look, you know, rough enough is good enough for this. If it was trailing arm rear end, that would be a totally different story, but because these springs already located, I don't have to worry about alignment from side to side. The only reason this is there is for high speed stability. I've actually noticed that at about 100 k's an hour on the dirt, we did notice a bit of a wobble in the rear end. Since putting this in, 150 k plus is no longer a drama, so that's all it's really about. That's a bit of a better fit. You can't really see it with the camera angle, but because this itself is on an angle, as the spring collapses, it will actually bypass this. It sits further inboard of the spring, which is important. So I'm happy with that. Let's weld him in.
Beautiful.
And down we go.
Could have done it a little bit slower,
She'll be right.
but should be right.
So I think that'll probably call us done for this day. We're going to muck around again a bit more tomorrow. I think we're going to tackle the fuel tank. We've got to do that repair. We've got to repair the fuel sender. It's got a crack where the pipe meets the base as well. We've got to do the brake line on the back end. And we might have a crack at doing some of this rear quarter before we finish up this film. So we're getting there. We've got an RC that's pretty much all together now. It's all lined up. So happy days. Let's keep going. Well, we're moving forward with the brake lines. We've got some brand new steel Bundy tubes, so we'll get the old lines off and do a bit of a comparison for length and do the double flares on these and use the old fittings that were in the car.
Sounds good.
Beauty.
It'll stop a bit.
Should slow it down a bit.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, this is out. This line, even though it's a factory one, is a little bit long, but we'll use it as a rough guide when we measure up with the other one. I don't have to worry so much about cutting corners because it can be a little bit shorter anyway. I'm going to cut it about there. That'll be good enough. We'll make it fit. There we go. Time to use the, I've actually got a hand tool. Most people have to go to a brake place, but I have actually got a hand tool here that will allow me to do some double flares, so we'll get the other fittings transferred onto there. Alright, so when we set this up, we've got to make sure we put the fitting on first. This is the next piece here. So there's a few little components to doing this, and we've got to set this at the right height as well. We've got to have it poking out a little bit because this one's actually going to come along here and it's actually going to balloon it out, but I'll show you that later as we carry on. And if you look in there, you can see how much is poking out through the top. And we're going to clamp this all the way down until it pretty much bottoms out. And if you look in there, you can see it's flared out, it's sort of created a bell shape in the middle. And now we put the regular flare on, and as a result, this is how we end up with a double flare as required by law. And as you can see now, that's ready to install. We've got to do it with the other side. Okay, so just do a rough bend where we want everything.
We want it inside that Watts link, don't we?
There we do. Just measuring up for size. That's about right on this end, so squeeze him through. Yeah. In fact, we'll probably just tighten it all the way up. Alright, so that's pretty much it there. Just got to bend these back over into their respective holders. And that is our brake lines all taken care of. Brand new. Easy as that.
Very good.
Alright, so the last job to do, more or less major job on the back end, is the fuel tank. So we've drained the fuel tank, we've got a hose running into it, so what we're going to do is we're going to fill the entire fuel tank with water to a point where it overflows, By doing so, we're displacing any basically gas that's in the tank, so we can ensure that there's no real explosion once we start welding. Sometimes you'll find there's little air bubbles which will give off a little burst, but it'll just displace the water more than anything. So we're ready to go. We're going to start running water all the way through it. We're going to fill up this hole with weld, and then we're going to put a bit of solder on top, and that should hopefully be a repaired fuel tank rather than replacing it. So alright, here we go. Let's displace all this air and get him filled with water. I'll get the welder ready. We'll clean this up with a wire brush, and we're going to fill this up with weld. As you can see here, this filler neck needs to be reworked. It's come loose, it's starting to leak water out, so we're going to pop a hose on it. But the fuel sender is definitely going to need some addressing once we've repaired this as well. So we'll just get this sitting over there, it's a bit higher, and we'll continue filling it with water. So we're probably halfway full now.
Cool.
Here we go. Alright, that's actually probably too much water, but we'll just swing him around a bit. Make sure it's all displaced its air, which I would say it has. So I'm now going to turn down the hose, Andrew. We just need it to trickle at best.
Okay.
I think actually, yeah, leave it at that.
You happy there?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go, that's the hole.
Alright, on that note, I'll say we give it a water test. Alright, here we are. This is nice and cool. All cool to the touch. The tank's about to overflow. There's not a single drop of moisture around here anymore. So we can call that tank done. We'll wait till it overflows completely. But that is extremely cool to the touch, indicating that it's full of water and there's not a single drip. Alright, so we've managed to do a repair for almost free. We've taken our time, but we haven't really spent a lot on it. Alright then folks, that's us done. That's our fuel tank sorted. We're going to take the fuel sender out in the meantime and just let the tank dry out before we put it all back together. But look, we've got a fair bit done. We've got most of the arse end back together. You know, I've found some axles, so I'm going to purchase them. They're going to turn up pretty soon. Still waiting for Murray to get back to me about the shocks. But outside of that, you know, look, the back end's done. So, you know, we've got alignment. So I think next video, new brake line's done. So I think next video, we're going to probably deal with the front or some body work or a bit of both. So stay tuned for that, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Righty, chill. Beautiful.
Wax on and wax off. And when I say wax off, I'm referring to Andrew here.
Hope we don't have to test it again.
Let's hope we don't. Well, you know, the navigator does his job properly.
The driver actually hurried up and I didn't have to tell him to hurry up. And we probably wouldn't have missed the call, would we? G-string, G-clamp, G-string, no, G-clamp.
G-string's for you, G-clamp is for me. So we need to be able to pull this out. Fuck! Just switch it off. No, the light's gone off.
Oh, the light's gone off.
I'm going to charge it. Fuck!
You're not very good at picking sizes, so...
I'm not very good at picking mates either.
Oh! At least the diff didn't jump forward or anything stupid like that.
Oh, shut up, don't ruin it. Don't jinx it. So he's just trying to apologise for his shitness, in other words.
Pretty much, that's exactly right. I never studied filmography, what do they call it? Whatever they call it at school.
Whatever you're not calling it, it's what they call it.
This is how Michael builds the seat that he has. It's got bending metal.
Fuck off.
I think we might need to swap roles here, mate.
I think you need to shut up.
What? It's not the first time you said that. It's probably not going to work like the other times.
It would be the first time if you ever actually did.
Same as me expecting you to do something right the first time.
Fuck off.
Don't worry about it, Fred. You'll be right.
Fuck off, Andrew. I think 11/16 is close. Can we get on that, please? That's solid. Fuck off, facial reaction. You want a facial? My finger is here, and Andrew's gonna fuck. Oh my god. This is on an angle. Shut the fuck up. Fuck off, cunt.
And Andrew's going to be standing as far back as he can as possible in case it blows up.
It's alright, the crew's expendable.
I am scared, people. Let's be honest, I'm scared. I don't know whether I'm more scared of this or he's driving, but I'm scared.
Fuck off.